Hi, I'm Claire from Port Adelaide Semaphore Salvos. And in the last two videos, we talked about Bible storytelling and what strategies you could use to learn stories and also to tell stories. So let's say that you've learnt some stories. What do you do next? How do you find a way to share those stories with people in a way that doesn't feel awkward for you or your listener? Well, step one is to pray. Remember, God knows people's hearts, so He knows which people will be receptive to stories. So ask God to lead you to people that are receptive to His word. Another step is to stay alert for any messages the Holy Spirit might give you during a conversation. So I'll tell you a story to illustrate this. One day when I was living in Murray Bridge, a woman came to visit the Salvation Army. She was trying to find a way to re-establish contact with her niece, who'd she'd lost contact with and who had gone off on her own way. So I gave her a brochure about an organisation that might be able to help, and the Holy Spirit also reminded me of the story of the prodigal son. So I asked her, would you like to hear a story? There's a story I know about someone in a similar position to you, about a parent who was looking for a lost relative. So she said yes, so I told her the story of the prodigal son, which is a great one for you to learn. It's a good opening story for anyone who doesn't know God. At the end of the story, she said, that's a great story. And I think I've heard that story before. So we prayed about her niece and she left. A week later, I called her to follow up to see if she'd rang the phone number. And although she hadn't had any success in locating her niece, she was interested in hearing more stories. So we ended up meeting for over a year, and in time there were some other friends that joined us as well, just to have a coffee and chat and to talk about some of the stories from the Bible. So you never know where one story might lead. So that's one way you can introduce a story into conversation. If you're talking to somebody who's going through a situation or experiencing a feeling, and the Holy Spirit reminds you of a story in the Bible where a character might have been in a similar situation or experiencing a similar feeling. Another way you can introduce a story that's less natural is simply to say, I've been learning to tell stories from memory. Would you mind if I practice one with you? Once you've told your story, you'll be able to gauge whether the person is interested in knowing more. If they just simply change the topic of conversation or don't give any positive message, then you'll know not to push further. But they might also ask questions about the story or make some positive comment like, oh, that was really interesting. I enjoyed that story. And so then you'll know there's an open door that you could perhaps ask them out for coffee, get to know their story, and maybe there'll be an opportunity for you to share more stories from the Bible in the future. So give it a try, learn some stories, ask for permission to tell them, and see what God does from there. You've got nothing to lose except a bit of pride, and you never know where that story might lead. See ya.